Welcome to your deep dive into Jane Blake, Mind the Game. This is the second book by Kelly Shade in her Jane Blake mystery series.
That's right. You pointed us towards this one, and we've looked at the Amazon page, some Goodreads info, and the Google Books entry as well.
Yep. So our goal here is, to sift through all that and really pull out the core insights, the stuff that you'd find most interesting about this book.
Exactly. We want to give you a feel for the story itself, what it's like to read it, and where it fits in the bigger picture of the series.
Okay, so diving right in. The main thing seems to be Jane Blake, our protagonist, is kind of obsessed with finding someone, Michael Morse.
Yeah, that name pops up immediately, and it sounds like, her team, maybe the LAPD colleagues she consults for, they're ready to focus elsewhere.
But she isn't. She's fixated. So what's the tension there? Is it just the case or something more?
Well, it definitely strains her relationships. That comes through loud and clear. The descriptions mention she's pushing friends away.
Even Ryan Gray. He sounds important.
Yes, especially Ryan Gray. It seems he's a close ally, but even he starts to worry about her, maybe thinks she's losing it a bit. The description uses the word crazy.
Wow. Okay. So the stakes are personal too, not just professional. It's not just solving the mystery, but like holding her life together.
Absolutely. And this focus, this obsession, it apparently leads her into some really dangerous territory, a life-threatening situation where she's completely alone.
Which makes you ask, why? Why this guy, Michael Morse?
Yeah.
What's driving her so hard?
And interestingly, this ties into another thread, her search for her real parents. The info we have suggests the truth about her family is way more complicated.
And dangerous.
And dangerous, yeah. More than she expects. So you've got this immediate chase for Morse, but it's layered over this deeper, potentially explosive personal history.
Okay, so let's talk reading experience. If you pick this up, what's it like? Amazon calls it a fast-paced mystery full of twists, turns, and suspense. Sounds pretty standard for the genre, but does it deliver?
Well, judging by the reviews, yes. One reader called it a wild ride. They definitely suggest speed and unpredictability.
A wild ride, I like that. And they mention twists, betrayals, and mind games, too.
Mm-hmm. So it's not just a straightforward hunt. Expect things to get complicated, loyalties to shift. It keeps you guessing, apparently.
Okay, beyond this Michael Morse plotline, are there other things, recurring themes maybe, that define Jane Blake? I saw a review mention her unique methods working with the LAPD.
That's a good catch. It implies she doesn't just follow procedure, right? She brings something different to the table as a consultant.
Maybe some special insight or skill?
Could be. It's probably part of her character throughout the series, her signature way of tackling things.
And then there's the family angle again, this criminal mastermind grandfather. That's quite a legacy to carry around.
It really is. You have to wonder how that shapes her. Does it give her certain insights? Or maybe it makes her a target.
Or both.
Mm.
It definitely adds complexity. She's maybe fighting external bad guys and also like internal struggles or predispositions.
Exactly. And speaking of struggles, her relationships seem to be under a microscope in this book, especially with Ryan Gray again.
Right, that connection keeps coming up. Why do you think it's so central?
Well, putting that bond under pressure because of her obsession with Morse really highlights the cost of her actions. It shows vulnerability.
Makes her more human, maybe, despite the badass woman description someone gave her.
Yeah, in that description, badass woman, not a quitter, it paints a picture of determination. But there's a flip side.
Right. The Google Book summary asks if her obsession will consume her. That adds a darker edge.
It does. Is her strength, that determination, also her biggest weakness? Could it lead her down a path where the ends don't justify the means? It's a compelling question.
Definitely gives you something to think about as you're reading. Yeah. Okay, so let's place this book, Mind the Game. It's number 2 in the series.
Yes, explicitly book 2 of 3 in the Jane Blake mystery series.
And we know the titles of the others.
Yep, Amazon lists them. Book 1 is True Sinner, and book 3 is called High Time.
So this one's the middle act. Probably bridges the stories, sets things up for the finale.
Almost certainly. You'd expect some plot threads to carry over from True Sinner and probably some cliffhangers or unresolved issues leading into High Time.
And reviews suggest people who read the first one were eager for this sequel.
Makes sense. If you enjoyed the first installment, you're invested in Jane and want to see what happens next. There's that built-in anticipation.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. The author, Kelly Shade. What do we know about her? This series started with her debut novel, True Sinner.
Right, and interestingly, she apparently first thought of it as just one book, but the story grew.
That often happens with rich characters and worlds, doesn't it?
It does, and her background is interesting, too. She started writing fantasy young, but then got drawn to mystery.
Why the switch?
An interest in psychology, human behavior, criminal psychology specifically. That fits perfectly with the kind of story this is.
Makes sense. And she seems quite international. Calls herself a citizen of the world,
Yeah.
lived in Europe, now in Spain, but feels connected to California.
Yeah, quite a mix. She's multilingual, too. Fluent in 2 languages, knows a third.
Do you think that global perspective influences a story set primarily in LA?
It could, subtly. Maybe in understanding different motivations or just adding a certain flavor to the writing, even if the setting is familiar. It broadens the well she draws from.
Sure. And she works from home, has a family, just gives a bit of context to the person behind the words.
Exactly, a little glimpse of the author's life.
Okay, let's cover the practical stuff. Publication details. Kindle version came out July 26, 2021.
Right, and it's available on Kindle Unlimited, which is good for subscribers. File size is pretty standard, about 2.9 millimeter.
And it's not just Kindle, right? There are print options.
Oh, yeah. Hardcover, paperback, and an audiobook version, too, so plenty of ways to access it.
Including that discounted virtual voice audiobook you can sometimes add on Amazon.
Right, that Whisper Sync deal, handy if you like switching between reading and listening.
Okay, last big area. Reception. How did readers actually react? The scores look pretty good.
Very solid. 4.4 out of 5 stars on Amazon from about 43 ratings, and almost identical on Goodreads, 4.46 from 28 ratings there.
So generally well-liked. What kind of things were people saying in the positive reviews?
Lots of enthusiasm. Things like interesting continuation, absolute gem, and people really seem to like Jane as a protagonist. That badass woman comment came up more than once.
So fans of the first book seemed happy with this one too.
Yeah, comments like, as good as the first, compelling, excellent follow-up, and lots of mentions of it being thrilling and heart-pounding. It delivered the suspense people were looking for.
Was it all positive, though? Any criticisms?
There's at least one review that mentioned needing maybe another editing pass and some questions about character consistency, but that seemed to be more of an outlier.
Okay, so generally the thumbs up seem to be for the strong lead character and the twisty, engaging plot.
Definitely. The overwhelming vibe is positive, especially if you're already invested in Jane Blake.
Right. So, pulling it all together for you. Jane Blake. Mind the game. Seems to be a real pressure cooker. Jane's chasing this Michael Morse, putting herself in danger, pushing allies away.
While also digging into her own complicated, maybe dangerous family history. It mixes that personal quest with the crime-solving procedural element.
And it does it with plenty of suspense and twists, keeping you hooked. It's that classic thriller blend, but with a really focused character study at its heart, it seems.
Yeah, you get the action, but also Jane's internal battles and the strain on her relationships.
So maybe a final thought to leave you with. We know Jane is obsessive, and we know her family history is hinted at being dangerous. What kind of truth could be so perilous, and what price will she ultimately pay to find it out in this book? Something to ponder as you consider jumping into Mind the Game.